What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.
It's time!
Welcome back to another Tuesday night Ask Tech Coach Ralph. Tonight is Tech Q&A, where I am here to answer your questions. All right. So what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to try to see if I can also stream this on Instagram as well. So give me just a second to kick this off on the Instagram side. Are we back? Let's see. Are we back? We are back. Okay, cool. Okay, so that did not work out exactly as we had planned. As soon as I clicked the button, the whole thing totally crashed. So I'm gonna try one more time, and if it crashes again, then tough cookie, you know. But let's give it one more try just to make sure. Because it would be cool to also stream to Instagram. But if not, it is what it is. Let's see if we can get this to work. One last try. If it crashes, I will be back and we will say, forget Instagram. It ain't worth it. Oh, I think it took it. You know, sometimes on the first try, it doesn't always seem to work out, but let's see what's going on. And we are live on Instagram. Let's do it. Cool. So let's welcome in Instagram. So whoever's watching on Instagram, welcome to the Tech Coach Ralph Tech Q&A night. Tonight is Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. And we normally do Q&A on the Tech Coach Ralph YouTube channel. And I said, hey, let's try to get it on Instagram as well. And if it works out pretty well, we will continue to broadcast it to Instagram as we go along. But let's get to it. All right. So like we always like to start, let's start with our agenda. And I am going to welcome in all of the new subscribers like we normally do. So let's get to it. So first and foremost, I want to say a big shout out and thank you to all of the newest subscribers, as well as the subscribers who has been rocking with me for a very long time. I really appreciate you all.
I appreciate you.
All right. So welcome to the channel. Welcome to the stream. And if you have any questions whatsoever, do not hesitate to drop it in the chat, as well as you can call in to the show and we can have a conversation where we can answer any question that you may have. All right. So let's get going. And in addition, I want to say a big shout out to the Tech Barbarians, the Tech Coach Ralph Patreon. I just posted a video there yesterday. Describing how to get, I want to prepare you for once we do our live stream on how to apply the agile methodology to everything that you do, right? To your personal life, to your learning, to your workplace, because if it works in the workplace, why can't we get it to work in our personal lives? You know, it's just organization and accountability. So, I have a video in there showing you how to prepare for a live stream. And once we have it scheduled, we will go from there. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and check out www.techcoachralph.dev where you can sign up, and the live stream will be available for all tiers. So, check it out. All right. So let's get into our live show schedule. So we have Sunday afternoons, software explorations. We are working through Terraform, right? And we made a breaking discovery this past weekend, this past Sunday, 2 days ago, right? And it was so funny that I made a community post about it. The reason that we had so much trouble the past 3 weeks, we spent like 3 weeks trying to figure this out. And then we finally said, hey, let me import this so that I can see how it is on the one that's working. And once we did that, it was like, oh, could it be just these 4 lines of code that we need to get it to work? And then once we tried it, everything worked perfectly fine. So I am going to delete the manually created one tonight. And it was like, if you haven't seen those Terraform live streams, you get to see all the trials and tribulations that we went through, but we always get the victory, right? So Sunday afternoons, we're working our way through Terraform. And once we're done with Terraform, we're going to jump straight into DevOps, because I'm going to proclaim Sunday as DevOps Day, where we do our infrastructure as code, we learn DevOps and all that good stuff, so that we can continue to bring more and more value to whatever position that we get in a company, okay? Tuesday nights, it is the Ask Tech Coach Ralph night, where we do Q&A and we answer your questions, right? We had an amazing Q&A last week for cybersecurity night with Socks and Don, who joined us as well. It was absolutely amazing. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend you go and watch it. So much insight from Socks, so much insight from Don. Socks has been in cybersecurity like since the day he was born. Don, even before he was born, he's been in QA. So much information, so much knowledge. So I would highly, highly recommend that you go watch that stream from last week. But after you watch this one, right? Because we are going to have some fun. We're going to have some questions. We're just going to do it up, all right? So that is on Tuesday nights. And then Thursday nights, we have software explorations. We have been going through automating with Playwright, Selenium, and Cypress using TypeScript on Calculus Coder's site. Free Mind Recovery. Calculus Coder is a YouTuber where he talked about his journey to tech and stuff and what he's learning and different things like that. Very cool guy, very cool channel. Definitely recommend you go check it out. But we are going to pivot this coming Thursday, right? Because this morning, around 4 a.m, check the phone and I saw an article that Netflix, they released a testing framework called Safe Test, right? And it's supposed to help you testing in React and stuff. It's a combination of Playwright, Jest, and I think Jest and Vitest and like React and stuff like that. So what we're going to do this coming Thursday, we're going to do a slight pivot. I know it's already scheduled to continue with our page object model and refactoring, but we're going to do a slight pivot. We are going to we're going to take it for a test drive. We're going to try out Safe Tests, right? Created by, I guess, some QA engineers and some developers at Netflix. We're going to give it a try, see how that goes, and we will go from there. But, I always like to try out these new frameworks when they come out. And I mean, it's kind of similar to what we're working on because we have been working on Playwright as well, but we're going to go through the documentation. We're going to, I found some some sample React site that I can build locally, and then we can try using that and see how we can write some tests for it and figure it out, right? So that's going to be the plan this coming Thursday. I'm going to update the stream and the screen and the thumbnail and everything like that so that we can do it right. We're going to do it right. You know how we like to do it. Okay. So that's what's going to be on the docket for this coming Thursday. All right. So, okay. And then we have our last thing. We have our morning show Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7:15 a.m. Coffee and Kata. We do news. We review like 3 or 4 news articles, and then we jump into our coding. So we are working on writing, like we're working on Flutter, right? Learning Flutter, which I'm picking it up pretty quickly, right? But I really want to figure out how to write tests for our Flutter application, which I'm also picking that up. So we've been focusing on catching up. Like, so I have an app in test mode in the like both app stores, iOS and in Android, but I need to write my test for them, right? So I'm writing the widget test. I already have my unit tests. Those are set. Those are solid. Writing my widget test. The widget tests are the ones that make sure like the UI is doing what it's supposed to do. Figuring that out. Learned a lot this past week. So we're going to continue in the morning writing those widget tests because I am not going to write add another feature or any enhancement or anything like that until I have everything tested. And then we're going to start writing our tests first. And then we're going to write our production code to make our test pass in a true TDD fashion. So that's the plan. All right. So join us in the morning for that. All right. So I'm going to run it through it one more time. Sunday afternoons, software explorations. We're doing Terraform. Tuesday nights, Ask Tech Coach Ralph. We have our Q&A night where you can write in the chat. You can call in, and I also source some questions so that I can get all your questions answered. And then we have Thursday nights. We have our software explorations. This coming Thursday, we're pivoting from what we've been doing. We are going to be exploring Netflix's testing framework called Safe Test. And then we have our morning shows Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7:15 a.m. Coffee and Kata, where we review some news articles. And we are working on Flutter, going through test-driven development and learning Flutter as a whole. All right. So something we have a lot of live streams. We are putting in that work, 6 days a week. 6 days a week, we are putting in the work. All right. And now let's jump over to our pre-recorded content. Monday's my favorite day of the week. We have candid conversations, right? So, and that's just like my thoughts and how I think, how I move, and hopefully it can help you as well. If not, then so be it. If you disagree, so be it. But hopefully it can give you some insight into a winning mentality, and because we all want to get somewhere. So hopefully I can help you with that. Even if it's just like 1%, hopefully I can help you, right? Then Wednesdays, we have software explorations, concept and overviews. This coming Wednesday, tomorrow that is, I am going to be releasing something for my cybersecurity folks who, if you're interested in cybersecurity, I was interested in getting more information about GRC. What is GRC? GRC stands for governance, risk management, and compliance. So I was interested in, because I always see, I want to go into GRC. And I was like, what's GRC? So I did some research on it, put a little presentation together to help me as well, to help me. And that way I'm like, hey, let's share it. Let's learn together. Let me share it with you. So doing a presentation on GRC. It's going to be a multi-part presentation. This is just the introduction to it. And I would love to hear your feedback if I'm missing anything, but there's going to be some more parts, right? We're just going to do a broad overview tomorrow. So definitely tune in for that tomorrow at noon Eastern time. Software explorations, concept and overviews, intro to GRC. And then Fridays, we have the Bug Bite, where we review different bugs and stuff like that, or different things that are happening in the tech related. It could be cybersecurity related. It could be company related. It could be whatever it is, right? But we just review something. We have some fun with it. It's Friday. We take it a little light, so definitely tune in for Fridays on the Bug Bite. And then we have throughout the week, we have shorts that drop here and there. And then we have we have a clip from the Q&A show. Like tonight's will be clipped in the future at some point. We have a clip from the Q&A show that drops so that you can have this information in bite-sized pieces. Sometimes you might have missed it or you might not remember. So it just comes out in the future, and then you can find it. You can look it up, whatever it is that you need. All right. So I'm going to run through that one more time really, really quick. Mondays, kind of conversations. Wednesdays, software explorations. Fridays, the Bug Bite. And then we have shorts dropping throughout the week. And we have clips from our Q&A live show. All right. So those So that is our live show schedule and our pre-recorded content schedule. Hopefully you find somewhere to plug in and I can add great value into your life. All right. So let's get into this real quick, right? And then after I get through this, then we're going to jump into the chat because my main man is in the chat. All right. So I want to remind you to check out the Chaos Camp GitHub. I will always support my guy Don. He puts in so much work to create these challenges, and I want you to go and try them out and see everything that it can do for you to change your thinking. And here's the thing, right? I'm gonna read, like, once we get a little bit further in the show, right? I'm going to read I'm not gonna say any names, right? But I'm going to read you some feedback that I saw in the Sox University Discord about how their experience was, right? So we'll talk about that as well. So check out the Chaos Camp GitHub and go get some real world dev and QA situations and have that help you level up. All right. So now, next up, Grammar Hub, right? So if you need a tech community that has your back, right? Or they have weekly meetings on Mondays. They help you learn. They review your resume. They do mock interviews and they help you network, right? All on Discord. So check out the Grammar Hub Discord, right? I'm going to drop a link in the chat for that. Although it just popped in the chat, I'm going to drop my own link in the chat and let them know that Tech Coach Ralph sent you, right? Let them know that Tech Coach Ralph sent you, and you've heard it on YouTube, and you wanted to join a group of people who were going in the same direction as you. And I hung out with them over the weekend. And they were telling me about, like, how many people they were able to help get a job and, prepare them, do some work on some projects. So very cool stuff. If you are looking to level up, that is a good opportunity for you. It's a nonprofit and the cool people over there, right? So definitely check it out and find out some more, right? You're going to drop it here for you. All right. So now next up, let me check out the chat. Let's check out the chat. All right. So we have my guy Mitch in the chat. What's up, Mitch? Mitch says, get the likes up. Get the likes up. Uh-oh. And one more thing that Mitch said, he says, it's really big in government tech. GRC. Yup, it's a big thing. Like I always hear like hanging out with Sox, I always see people talking about it and stuff like that. And I was like, I wonder GRC, because a lot of people say, I want to go to GRC. I want to go to GRC. I'm like, how does that work? So I was like, hey, let me do some research on it and let me share it with my folks, because hey, I know some cybersecurity people follow the channel and they might want some more information as well, as because a lot of people say, hey, I want to go into cybersecurity, right? But cybersecurity is so vast. So it's like, all right, what part of cybersecurity can I go in? And this is, hopefully it can help you. All right. And we have one of my favorite people of all time in the chat. Sharon says, hey, Tech Coach Ralph, hope all is well. All is amazing. Thank you for being here. As always, you are always so very appreciated. I hope all is going well with you as well. All right. So let's keep going. All right. So before, I'm going to read this first. Before we get into the show, I wanted to share some feedback that I saw in the Discord of the Sox University, right? So I'm going to read just a part of it, right? So this is what it says, right? I am so glad to have this hands-on training, because when I tell you, I thought I knew a little something about cybersecurity, I was so wrong. I don't know what the hell I'm doing and would have been fired from a cybersecurity job like by now, So I'm figuring out as I go through. I'm grateful because I never realized there was so much more to knowing, understanding, and being able to complete a task in cybersecurity. And that's the part that I'm gonna stop there. Right? There's more information there, but I'm gonna stop there. But I just wanted to, and this is why I support I support Socks. I work with Socks the way that I do, and I always talk about Socks University, and this is the same exact thing that I talk about from like a lot of boot camps and stuff like that. Right? You get a certain amount of like more theoretical knowledge and a little bit of hands-on stuff, but it's like the way that like but Socks, a person who's been doing this for 20 years or so, right? He's been doing this for like 20 years or so. He puts these things together. He finds other people who's been doing it to help putting up these modules together. And it's like the feedback was like I thought I knew something, but until I got this hands-on training, I didn't know what I didn't know. But now I'm really starting to understand and level up. And once when I saw that feedback, I was like, all right, I gotta share a little bit of this because this is amazing feedback. I totally unexpected, but knowing the quality of work that Socks does, I'm like, okay, I'm not surprised, but I was so happy to see it. And I just wanted to share with everybody just a little bit so you can be aware of what's coming out very, very soon at Sox University. And guess what? This type of feedback is on the lowest tier that Sox offers, right? At Sox University. And this is just feedback from the beta testing, and look how much value being added in just beta testing. So imagine when it goes, like when we go live and we have more information and more modules and stuff like that. So definitely wanted to share that information with you as well. All right. So let's get to the rest of the chat, and then we'll start the show. All right. So let's see. Mitch says, you're an example of learning, skilling up when you already have your career set. Yeah, thank you. It's for me, like I know because you see, here's the thing, right? Because I've been in this industry for so long, I know how fast it moves. I know how fast a new technology can come and like wipe everything that you were doing out. So I'm always like trying to keep ahead, keep learning, and that's why that's why I'm pivoting for this coming Thursday to work on to try out, take it for a test drive, the Netflix's safe test, right? The same way when Amazon Q was announced, right? Their chatbot, say, hey, let's give it a try. And it was hard to set it up because we didn't have the right infrastructure in place, but we tried it out. We saw how it worked. We messed with it. It ended up costing me some money. Hopefully Amazon can fix that, but it was a great learning experience. All right. So, and Mitch is continuously learning, and that's what we got to do. And he says, triple darkness. You don't know what you don't know what you don't know. Exactly. Right. So, but hopefully we can take you like one or two layers. Cause here's the thing, right? And I'll tell you this, like, as much as like, we're trying to help at Sox University, like to get past that next layer, right? But even when you get into the job, there's going to be a bunch of stuff that you still weren't expecting, you weren't sure of. So it's going to like, but at least you feel a lot more comfortable, right? Because at least you won't be like totally green when they say, "Oh, can you do this?" You're like, "Oh, okay." You might have some questions on how to get there and stuff, but you're not going to be like totally lost, right? So that's part of the goal, like that I have, because even with my coaching, right? I try to make it as close to the job reality as possible, but there's going to be some differences because I am not a company to give you that 100% like experience and that pressure that you're going to be feeling in the real time. But I try to make it as close as possible with the things that we do, right? So just wanted to share that. And Mitch says, I definitely will be tuning in for that Netflix safe test. Shout out to you, Mitch, as always. And yeah, so here we are. Okay, let's Google is your friend. Yes, it is. That's my best friend. Like I think I still use Google way more than I use ChatGPT. And I mainly use ChatGPT to like come up with like not content, but like my descriptions and stuff like that, and my titles and stuff like that. But like when it comes to like the technical stuff, I barely use. Actually, no, I also use ChatGPT to come up with like my user stories for my personal stuff that I do. But like for technical stuff, it's all on me. That's what I you saw what I was thinking, right? I was about to say something. I'm like, I'm just gonna let him keep going. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, you know what? I gotta call Joseph. I was like, you should see my chat right now. You would not believe who's having a full conversation with me right now. Anyways. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into the show. So before we get into our questions, if you have not done so yet, go do me a favor, like, share, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live. If you are looking for one-on-one coaching as well and access to exclusive content, like the live stream that we'll be doing about how to get situated in an agile environment to help you not only get prepared for the job that you're looking for in the tech industry, which I'm 99% sure they're going to be using Agile, whether it's Scrum or Kanban. It's going to be one of those. 99% chance, right? And like the tools that we use, for if you want to be part of that live stream, watch a video that's preparing you for that. Then go to www.techcoachralph.dev where you can join the Patreon and you can either get one-on-one coaching or you can just get the lowest tier where you have access to all the videos that all the content and all the videos that I record that is exclusive to the Patreon members. All right. So that is that. All right. And now to get into the show, our show format, 5 minutes per question, and I will read them and then we'll start our timer and we'll get into it. All right. So without further ado, let's get started. All right. Let's get the timer up. And let's put our 5 up. Okay, where are our questions? All right, here are our questions. All right, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to drop them in the chat, and I will make sure to get all of your questions answered, whether you are putting them on Instagram or YouTube, wherever the case may be. I will get your your questions answered. All right. So let's do this. And you can also call in. The link should be pinned to the top of the chat, I believe. It is. Cool. If you want to call in, you can feel free to click the link on YouTube as well. Okay, let's do this. All right. So the first one, actually, I read this and I wanted to share my thoughts on it, right? So this is not much of a question. It was a post that I saw, right? And I wanted to read it to you, and then I wanted to share my thoughts on it, and let me know what you think, and we go from there. Okay, so let's go with this, right? Let's start off.
Another one.
So this title was "Do not," and I repeat, do not accept unpaid internships. Really? Is that the case? All right, so it says, hear me out. I was asked to join a company as an intern. The position was something I was interested in and believed I could flourish in. But by the end of the conversation, I was asking if I was comfortable working for 6 months unpaid. The answer is no, of course. I did not precisely respond that way, but I wanted to. We are at a time when no one can afford to work without pay. The economy indeed does not allow that. Even if you're a student, many of whom have financial responsibilities outside of school, this should not be acceptable. I understand the word intern was used for individuals who got the coffees or didn't do work, but I trust you. The interns now are doing every bit of work as full-time employees, and we should be compensated for that work. Shout out to you for that.
They ain't believing us.
All right. So I'm going to share my thoughts on that. Right. Let's start our timer up. So how do I feel about that? So should you work for free? Should you not? Like if someone offers you an internship, should you say absolutely not unless you are paying me? Okay. So I'm going to tell you this, right? I had this conversation as well with a family member, with a relative, like 3 or maybe like 3 years ago, right? It was about 3 years ago. And I'll tell you the results of that, right? The person ended up working a job that they really hated. Yes, I said hated. They were like this, right? They were like this. Let me tell you how this is how they sounded. Like they sounded like this.
I hate it here. I want to go home.
But the problem, well, yeah. So the reason I put it that way is because I'm going to be honest with you, right? Having to like interns are great people and stuff like that. You know, a lot of times they're young. They might be in college. They might be second, third, maybe fourth year students in college and stuff like that. But it is a lot of work to manage them. And you also have to find activities for them, and you need to find places that they can plug in work that they can actually do, right? And it's a lot of work, right? And there are companies that they go all out for their interns and stuff like that. And I believe like if a company can afford it, they'll pay the intern, right? But the amount of planning that is necessary to be able to take care of interns and stuff like that, and to be honest with you, experience, because I'll tell you this, right? The biggest challenge that I see that so many people face, that like they go to a boot camp or whatever it is that they're trying to do. They do some fake internship that the boot camp offers that you don't really get any real experience, because all the people that I've come across who've come from boot camps with their bad resumes, and I'm like, okay, what's this? I don't know. Ooh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, okay, what do they show you in these boot camps? Like, you know, and here's the thing, when if I was to hire you, right, or interview you, and like the answers that you give, I'm like, okay, this person's not ready, right? Like, and that's why, because, and here's why you so many people's resumes who take these boot camps and stuff like that get rejected. Like they don't get any offers and stuff like that, or interview requests and stuff like that, is because the people that they did interview, who has the same boot camps and the same type of resume that you had, that they took the time to interview, which costs a lot of money, they were bad. So they figured like you're going to be bad too. So they're like, all right, let's just filter this out, right? So now going back to the internship, the unpaid internship, if you need experience, right? I always believe that you can, like, I wouldn't mind getting paid in experience, right? Because that experience you can use to leverage and put it to here, put it to there, have something on your resume and everything like that. You talking about, oh, you can't live off this and live off that. I remember though, like when I was young, right? When I was younger, I had like 2 or 3 jobs, right? And I did what I had to do to survive. And to me, internships has always been a way to gain and garner experience. I'll tell you this, when I was 16 years old, right? When I was 16 years old, I was working at the library in a program. I think it was called like the Youth Opportunity Board. And they paid us like $4.85 an hour. But the experience that I got from the library, right? It was like, oh wow, this is like, I learned like so much, like, you know, about being on time and all these type of things. I come across so many people who they want to be given a chance. They want to be given a chance. They don't have any experience, but they want to be given a chance. But now, if we give you a chance and we pay you all this money that you're expected to make, and you're not ready, you can't handle the job, you end up quitting within like 2 to 3 weeks, And now we just wasted so much time. So I'll tell you this, right? If a company can afford to pay you during an internship, I think that's great. I think that's wonderful. But if you want experience, then you have to keep that in mind as well, that the experience that you get from actually working with people who've been doing, like, as an intern, you get exposure to people of like from like who have like all types of years of experience, right? But you get like from the seniors and from like the managers and stuff like that. You get to ask them questions. You get to find out how things work, and you get to take that experience and you get to go refine that. And now when you are ready to hit the marketplace, you can apply everything that you learned in those situations, right? But if you are the one who wants to say, "Oh no, I can't do it," then you are passing up the opportunity that could really, really help you in the near future, getting to where you say that you want to be, right? I've seen so many people apply for internships that they can't get. They don't even get the opportunity for it, right? So, take it for what it's worth. If you think that you are that up there, then it is what it is, But I'll tell you this, there is another person who is willing to take it and who will excel because they said, you know what? I needed the opportunity and someone gave it to me. And even though that they probably didn't really deserve it, right? Like who deserves an internship? Like who deserves an internship, right? Because an internship is like, they're pretty much taking a chance on you. Like they still interview and stuff like that, but they're still pretty much taking a chance on you. So, I mean, it's all about perspective. It's all about how you see things playing out, But that's my thoughts on that. That's how I see it. All right. So let's go ahead and wrap that one up. All right. Let's see what Mitch says in the chat. I think he has 2 parts to it. So let me read that. And, we'll turn that into a question as well.
Another one.
All right, let's see. So Mitch says, kind of on the same topic, what are your thoughts on companies asking you to do an assignment during the interview process, take home assignment? And then he says, I see so many people say if they don't pay, they're not doing it and vice versa. Start the clock, but I'm all with it. All right. Like if you don't, if you say you don't want to do it, then you don't do it. And then we just won't interview you. Right. Like I'll tell you this. So about the first question, right? What are my thoughts about it? I think that is the best way to find out if someone actually knows what they're talking about, right? And here's how it normally goes, right? Here's how it normally goes. Like at least in some companies in the QA field, right? Because I'll tell you like how I do it at our company, right? So you'll talk to the recruiter, then you talk to the hiring manager, and then they'll give you a take-home project, right? They give you a few days to get it to do it, and then you submit it. And now here comes me and some other people. We do a preliminary review on what you did, and if we say like based on the level that you're applying for, of the position you're applying for, if it's good, then we'll say all right, thumbs up on it. We'll talk to the person. We'll talk to the person, right? So now I come in and I do the actual technical interview where I'm asking you questions about the project, some critical thinking stuff, and I'm also like looking at your resume, seeing like one to make sure that you actually did the project. Right, in which I can sniff that out like that. Like, I'm not even worried about that, right? But then, like, get into some critical thinking skills, like some scenarios, things like that, right? So I personally think that it is a great, it's a great thing to have those take home projects because, and usually those projects aren't really that serious, depending on like, I mean, I can only speak on it from like a QA perspective, right? But I don't know like what maybe some other tech fields might have on a take home project. But from a QA perspective, like it's not like they're going to ask you to design a whole system and stuff like that. But here's the thing, and here like you see, and here's why I don't have a problem with it. Right, is because like I've said before, hiring is very, very expensive for a company. A lot of people say, oh, like I hate when I see this too, right? Like, oh, the interview process is so long. It took this long, and how much like they only give you this much time to after they make an offer, blah 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 blah, right? And all this nonsense. And the thing is, my time is expensive. So if I have to spend the time to interview you and all this type of stuff, and then and or they rush it or something like that, and then you don't like you quit after a little bit, I'm like, oh, like that just annoys me because I spent a lot of time and effort to actually look at your resume, to look at your project that you submitted, right? Because like I said, we don't look at GitHubs like because we don't have the time to do it, right? I could have been working on other stuff. I could have been like working towards my sprint goals and everything like that. But I take the time out of the busy schedule to interview you, to review your project, to ask you about how the project was, to know more about you, to get a better understanding. So if you don't want to do it, then by all means, like, thanks. I appreciate it. You know, like I'll be like this.
I appreciate you.
You know, but like, to be honest with you, I think that the technical projects are a great way to show your work, right? Because if you put a, oh, well, I did this project, all right, cool. Like, how do I know that you did it? And like, I don't want to like, I want you to do something that I gave you to do, so I can see how you did it compared to, and I can compare that to how other people have done it. And if a bunch of other people have done it, and you think you're too good to do it, then, you know, by all means, you know, what can I say? You know what I mean? So, that, you know, honestly, that's how I feel about it, right? So let's see. And then it says, so yes, if they don't pay, they are like, and what? I mean, you're the one looking for a job, and you know, and that's why, Mitch, that is why whenever I'm scrolling through Reddit or LinkedIn and all these people are complaining and stuff like that, and I don't feel anything. I'm like, okay, cool. So many people have said, hey, go ahead and do this. Hey, go ahead and do that. And they didn't do anything. But I still see them posting about, oh, you know, I'm trying to do this, trying to do that. I'm thinking about quitting and everything like that. I'm like, all right, cool. Cool. Like, what can I say to them, right? You want to, it's weird. It's like, and I said it before, like there was a post on LinkedIn. I said, yeah, it sounds like entitled. And the person's like, oh, it's not entitled. That mindset is not entitled. I'm like, yes, to me, it sounds entitled because you want something from someone else. Like, it's like this, right? Down here in South Florida, I have maybe I shouldn't say this because then I have like a bunch of people lining up at my door, but I have the best mango tree in South Florida, right? Yes, I said it. I have the best mango tree in South Florida. Now, it's like you show up and you say, oh, I know I want some of your mangoes, right? However, you have to give it to me under these conditions. What? I'm like, wait a second. I have to give you my mangoes under the conditions that you asked for? How about no? As Dr. Evil would say, how about no? How about you don't get any mangoes? How about you go about your way and you go get those nasty mangoes at Aldi or Publix? Uh-oh. See, I knew it.
Good guy.
Anyways, so that's that, right? And Mitch said, I knew you would say that. Hey, you know me pretty well, Mitch. You know me pretty well. All right, let's wrap that one up. Thank you so much for that question, Mitch. All right, good guy. You can come. You can come. I like good guy. I like
good guy.
You can come, good guy. All right, let's get. You see, I knew this was gonna be bad. See, mango. Now you're talking. I knew you were cool with it. See, I knew I should have just said it. I knew I should have just said it. All right, let's get to our next question. That was a great question, Mitch. I love that question. Okay, so now let's get into a little bit of QA. So let's get to it.
Another one.
And this question is very simple, straight to the point. Best UI automation tool. which framework is most efficient for UI test automation? Please elaborate why, if possible. So, which one do you think, good guy, is the most efficient? So, someone asked me the other day, right? Because you know how we've been going through Selenium, Playwright, and Cypress on Thursday nights, and one of the discords I'm in says, "So, like, which one do you like the best?" And I was like, you know what? At this point, after doing like automation for the past 12 years, I'll tell you this: I don't like UFT Quick Test Professional, right? But I mean, I'll always see. I don't think about it on which one is the most efficient, which one I like the best. I like it as which one is the most in demand, right? And to me, Selenium is still the most in demand, right? I like Playwright. Cypress is I like Cypress, but I think personally I like Playwright a little bit more right now. But I'm very agnostic to the framework. I'm like, what is the best one for the job at the moment, right? So for instance, when you're saying automating UI, right? Oh, good guy, you're not doing your job, good guy. What's going on here? You know? All right, timer's up. See, the mangoes got good guy distracted. He forgot all about the timer, right? So timer's up. So I always say it depends on, like, you always have to use the best tool for the job, right? I'm not gonna say who, but someone who is very, very close to me, they will take anything and try to use that as a tool, right? So they might take this thing and try to use it as a hammer, or they might take a knife and try to use that as a screwdriver. I'm like, we have a screwdriver. Why don't we just use a screwdriver if you wanna do this, right? So the point is, I like the best tool for the job. So let's say I am working on mobile, right? So like let's say the app that we're building in the mornings during the Coffee and Kata show, right? Where we're working on Flutter using TDD, build the time cost calculator, which I already have some beta testers out there. But anyways, I digress. Shameless plug. So I want to do mobile testing, right? So I would have to go with Selenium and Appium because I know that I can use that to do mobile testing. I can send the app to the device farm and do like all this UI testing and stuff like that. If I am if I am using like let's say I'm doing like a node project, right? Then I might go with like using Express and React and stuff like that. I might go with Cypress maybe, or depending on how I want to run it, I might go with Playwright. Depending on the language that I'm doing this in, I might go with Selenium in Java or in Python. Although today I was trying out Python and Playwright, which was pretty cool for the most part. I'm gonna keep trying it out some more. But it just depends. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? And efficiency is based on what you're doing. So, for instance, the knife as a screwdriver might not be the most efficient thing if you're trying to take like some screw out of something. Might not be the most efficient. It might be able to get the job done, depending, but it's not the most efficient. However, if I am trying to, slice into a piece of steak, then I wouldn't want a butter knife, right? Which you could do with a butter knife, but it's not going to be efficient as well. You'd want a steak knife, right? Here's a question. Have you ever cut something with a knife and then use the knife to put the thing in your mouth, right? Whatever, like it might be a piece of meat, it might be some peanut butter, who knows, right? But now, hopefully it wasn't a steak knife, because then you might cut your tongue. But even still, with a butter knife, you still have to balance it, right? So it doesn't fall off. But you could just use a fork or a spoon, right? So efficiency is based on what it is that you're doing, not based on. It's not general, right? It's not a general concept of, oh, what's the most efficient UI automation tool? What type of UI are you automating? right? So, and then let's say let's go back to with Java, right? Let's say my framework has to be a little bit more extensive, right? I need to have a particular type of reporting. I need to have a particular type of reporting. I need to have API testing. I need to be able to control it. I need to be able to pass test data in a particular way, which you start to get. I need to be able to use like the Google Cloud, developer cloud, right? So like where I'm connecting like Google Sheets to it, or I need to use like Excel as data providers. It depends. It all depends on what it is, and that's why architecture is important. You don't just say, "Oh, I'm good. Like I like Playwright, so I'm going to go with Playwright." But then now, some of the things that you need to do, you find out that you can't really like. It's going to be very hard for you to do with Playwright or with Cypress, right? Or Cypress is limited to the browsers that it can run in. Or maybe your team is not familiar with JavaScript or TypeScript, right? It just depends. Depends on the features that you're looking for. So that's why I would say that I'm at a point that I'm pretty much agnostic to the tool. I am more in line with the job that needs to be done. So based on the job, I'm going to pick the best tool, and the best tool should be the most efficient in that case. I like Cypress. I like Playwright. I like Selenium, right? But I take it as maybe Selenium is my steak knife. Maybe Playwright is a fork. Maybe Cypress is a spoon. So that's how I see it. That's how I see it. So thank you for that question. That was a great question. And let's wrap that one up. All right. All right. So see the trouble that I'm going through. Sharon wants some mangoes as well. You want some mangoes as well, So, and good guy throwing up the mango emoji. Mitch says, I'm a thinker, analytical. Yep, you are, and I used to say a man of few words, but after tonight, I don't know. And good guy says, of course, the guy's gonna say Playwright for sure, of course. But I like Playwright though, and good guy. Have you tried Playwright in Python yet? I tried it today. It was pretty cool. I think it's mainly used in JavaScript, but it was pretty cool, the experience with it. So I'm gonna keep messing with it. And Mitch says, knife as a screwdriver. I remember those days. Yep. Hey, for some people, those days are still now. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty then. Let's go. Playwright is a knife sport. Playwright is a knife spork. Yes, it is. Good guy. It is. All right. Let's jump into our next question.
Another one.
So the next question says, I need guidance. My manager has asked me to prepare an action plan on how I will be training developers on how to write UI end-to-end and API integration tests using the framework I have built. So, my problem is I have always been involved in developing or maintaining testing frameworks. I have always worked in the shadows, just getting things done and pretty much working in my own silo. This worked for me for about 8 years now, but presently I have been asked by my manager to prepare a roadmap on how I can train developers to start writing their own end-to-end and integration tests using my frameworks. And I am completely clueless on how or what to share. I've developed API testing frameworks using Rest Assured with TestNG in Java, and UI testing frameworks is Playwright with TypeScript. Good guy, is this your question I'm reading? Good guy, is this your question? Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. As vague as I understand, maybe I have to share timelines, topics to cover. I actually have no clue. What do we share in the roadmap document for upskilling resources? Okay, cool. So that's the question. That is the question. Let's get to it. Let's put our timer up. So this, first and foremost, I'm going to say you have an excellent opportunity to shine at your company right now. So many times we get afraid, we get scared because you're like, oh my goodness, I have to talk. Well, the thing is, so most people who tend to be in IT tend to be extroverted, because if we were extroverted, why would we be sitting behind a computer all day doing code and stuff like that, right? Why? But here's the thing. Times has changed, right? Because while we used to be pretty much locked in a dungeon, just writing code, and then sending it out. Now with the change to like software development, with the iterative process where the development team is way more involved, now you're going to have to start presenting. You're going to have to start training and stuff like that. And being that you built this framework, you have the excellent opportunity for people to use stuff that you have done. So just imagine how amazing it sounds that, hey, I built this framework and I have this suite of developers who are writing their own tests. So you have empowered the developers to be able to write tests, to do API testing, to do integration testing. Because I'll tell you this, developers, as amazing as they are as coming up with like how to create functionality and stuff like that, they are not the best at testing, right? It's just, testing is not something that is normally taught in college. They might, if you're lucky, get a little bit of unit testing, but unit testing and functional testing, end-to-end testing, is two totally different things. So now to get to your question, how would you go about it? So let's start with the roadmap, right? The roadmap would be, okay, it's pretty much what your plan is, right? So it says, the way that I would go about teaching this is, when I'm using my own framework to write automated tests, how do I do that? And then how would I document it? So let's picture it like this. You come into a project, right? You already have your framework done, right? So let's say, for instance, you built the Netflix safe test framework, right? Now you get put on a project where you're going to be automating something. I don't know. Maybe it's a let's say it's an application for some type of network where, like, a group of people where you see who are the members, right? And you're building this network, right? You're building the application. Maybe it's a web application, and you need to automate it, right? So what would be your first step to getting that done, right? So that first step would be the first part of the roadmap. Simple as that. The first step would be the first part of the roadmap. And now, whatever you do first, so like me personally, I'd probably say, okay, I'm not sure if the developers are writing the test cases or if you have QA engineers or analysts or whoever, testers writing the test cases, but wherever the test cases come from, say, okay, so let me see my test cases, let me see my inventory and stuff like that. And so that would be like the first step. Now we start to prepare writing our tests. So you, being that you're using Java, right? I'd say, okay, the way that I'd normally start is I would say, all right, let me create my test file in test.ng where my test case is going to live. And I'm going to just write some comments and say, okay, I'm going to write the comments out, the steps of the test that I'm going to follow, right? And then I would start plugging in. So that would be like the next step of the framework of your roadmap of how it's going to work. And then I'm going to say, okay, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start creating my page objects, right? And at some point in there, you're going to say, okay, you're going to import the framework into the project. So that's probably pretty much early on. You're doing that through Maven when you're just getting started. If you're using Python, then you probably do like install the requirements file, whatever the case may be. But that's that's that part, right? And now, okay, now let me start creating my page objects, right? And I say, okay, I have like, you create the page objects for like the home page. And the way I normally do it, I go through the per test. So I'll create the page objects to create like the first test, right? Let's say the first test is like logging in or creating an account. Let's say registering, right? So I'm gonna create the page objects for like the registration page where I'm gonna be entering my like whatever information you're gathering. So it could be like your name, first name, last name, email address, username, password, whatever the case may be, right? So you're capturing, like, you're creating the page objects for that, and then you automate that on the actual test, right? Writing your methods and stuff like that. So this is all part of the roadmap. And in the roadmap, like, I don't know if it's meant by what are you going, like the roadmap of the training or the roadmap that the developers would be using to do the automation, right? You figure that out. But I would pretty much be either training in that process, and I'll be teaching like this is how I do it, and the same exact way that you would be automating the project is how you would be teaching them to do it. And they're going to have questions, and they're going to say, "Oh, about this, how about that?" They're going to answer little developer questions, and you're going to answer it, and you're going to have a great grand time. And then at the end, they are going to be like, they will say they super duper appreciate you because you like, and you're going to get so much more coverage because you're going to have the developers who are going to be writing end-to-end tests as well and API tests, and you can continue to empower them by adding more and more to the framework. So this is going to be great, right? So I would say, do not be afraid, do not fear. What's the worst that can happen, right? What's the worst that can happen? You know, like a lot of times we get so scared of going into the different opportunities that we have, and I love it, right? I'm like one of the most introverted people, right? But I always go looking for the opportunity to share and to go outside of my comfort zone, you know, because that builds strength, that builds character, and it just makes you so much better overall. Because I never thought that I'd be doing these on, like, going live on YouTube like six times a week and putting videos every single day. But that makes me a lot stronger and a lot better, right? So let's wrap that one up. All right. So let's see what Mitch said. He says, you know what it is, Tech Coach Ralph. My job is customer facing, so I be exhausted. Senior implementation specialist, customer success. That's awesome. I like at a few jobs ago, I worked closely with the customer success managers, like because I was on the development team, and we're building out a new software, a new application, and then they would use that to work with the clients, with their customers, where they would like implement their different campaigns and stuff like that. So yeah, like I used to work really closely with them doing presentations. Like they were pretty much our stakeholders. They would come to our sprint reviews, and we would like share like, oh, this is the new features, and they'll ask, oh, how does this work? And then sometimes they'd like come by my desk, and then I would like, so, oh, you could do this, you could do that. They would get feedback. They would have feature requests. So really cool. I'm happy to know that's what you do. And I would recommend, if you don't go to the sprint reviews of the development team, depending on what it is, I would highly recommend that you go to it, and you hear it from the developer's mouth, what they're building, how it works, and you can ask them questions as well. So I think it would be a very good opportunity for you to go hang out over there. So yeah, and Mitch also said fear of the unknown, and it goes, yeah, same. I'm on that side. Awesome. Yeah, like those sprint reviews are super valuable to go straight to the people who are building it to know what they're working on. All right, so shout out to you, Mitch. And good guy with the direct no, that was not his question. All right, good guy. Just a question. Don't have to be so direct about it. All right. So let's get to our next question. Before you, but honestly, they possibly want me to start the data department. Interesting. We'll talk about it. I'm curious to find out a little bit more about that, to see what, yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later, Mitch. I'll reach out to you. I don't know if you have me on LinkedIn. If you don't, add me on LinkedIn, Mitch, and then we'll talk about that, because I would be very curious to hear a little bit more about that. But yeah. Okay, let's get to our next question.
Another one.
So, this question is a QA career possible in Canada? Most QAs I see are usually international. So, this question is going to break a few hearts. But the answer is yes, a QA career is possible in Canada. However, it depends on what that QA career actually is. One of the things that is very hard to watch is that, like, oh God. Okay. What's hard for me to see, right, is so many people will go to a boot camp here in the United States and they'll pay however much money to like take a boot camp on manual testing, right? And then they go to apply for a bunch of manual testing jobs. And it's like the saturation in the boot camp market for QA for manual testing is so high now. Cause like maybe 10 years ago, yeah, you'd find a job like that. But now the fact that companies are shifting towards automation, manual testing is not that big of a thing anymore. And that's why so many jobs get offshored to like other countries for QA for manual testing. So that's why I say it depends on the job that you're going to do, because monotonous work, like you're just executing the same testing over and over and over again, the same process over and over again. There's not necessarily much thought and creativity to doing that, right? But if you are like going to be like a QA engineer or something like that, like learning automation, learning different technologies, learning the cloud, then you have a better chance. I don't know where you are in Canada and stuff like that, but I mean, there's companies in Canada, of course, right? So it just depends on what industry of QA you're going into. There's a lot of different type of QAs. Like there's like performance testing, there's automation testing, there's infrastructure, there's QA architecture, so many things. There's even QA for like cybersecurity and stuff like that. It does depend on like where you are in Canada. I don't know what the job market is like in Canada, but as far as the international part, a lot of jobs get outsourced because people are asking for $50 minimum wage. That might be part of it. So that's why it's like there's some jobs that you can't really outsource, right? Like for me, for instance, if I was a company here in the United States and I needed like cybersecurity, I wouldn't outsource my cybersecurity professionals, right? But if I need just like manual QA testers, then I might outsource that. Or the cost to get all of those manual QA testers doing like testing a bunch of stuff, I could hire like one or two QA engineers, and that would get a lot more stuff tested on a regular basis. Because if those two QA engineers, right, they can write me while you're live streaming, somebody just decides to print something, yeah, whatever. Anyways, if I can get those two QA engineers to automate what 10, 20, 30, 40 manual testers would do, and I can run those tests every single day in like 30 minutes, maybe, depending on the test, then I wouldn't really need to outsource it, right? But the cost of getting those manual testers here is going to be so much more. So that is why, like, it depends on the role that you'll be doing, right? So, for example, like I said, like, if you're going to be doing something more technical, something that it's not easily like, not that they can't do it internationally, but it's more complex and it takes more thought, and you might want, like, because if they're international and they're like in a totally different time zone, the time that you might be working here would be totally different from the time that they're working there, and it's going to be harder to collaborate. So that's a lot of times that's why they want people locally, so that you can actually work closer, you can work in the sprints and stuff like that, so like, can you get a QA job in Canada? Of course you can, right? Depending on the market. But what type of QA job are you actually looking for? That is the question, my friend. And I think let's see what Mitch says here, because this is probably related, right? So Mitch says, but the real boot camps are bad because people are not actually studying, especially the technical boot camps, data, cloud, software engineer, etc. So I'll take that. Take that as a different question, right? I'm going to answer that separately, right? So let's wrap this question up. All right. So let's get that question back.
Another one.
Let me ask, is the real reason boot camps are bad because people aren't actually studying, especially the technical boot camps, data, cloud, software engineer, etc.? So I think you're right. That's part of it, but I also think that I just don't think they adequately prepare people to work, right? From what I've seen with boot camps, and it's kind of in the name of a boot, like in the boot camp, it's like, here's information that you need, boom, right? Even like online courses, like on Udemy, right? I've experienced it myself where, like, when I was learning Python, they give you exactly about Python, and they say, oh, you can go get a job now that you know this, but you can't. Why can't you? Because you never, you haven't done anything real in Python. They give you some projects and stuff like that, but and those projects don't really mean much, but you get to learn Python. And the same way in the boot camps, like they'll give you the knowledge you need to do, for example, to do QA, right? Or to be a software engineer, where you're writing in Node, you're writing in like React and stuff like that. However, you don't know anything about agile methodology, right? You don't know anything about Jira. You don't know anything about sprints, stand-ups, all of that. You don't know anything about GitHub. Like, if you know how many people I come across, I'm like, they have a GitHub, but it's like, okay, I need you to, like, let's say open up a pull request, or you need to clone the repo, do this and do that. And it's like, how do I do that? And I'm like, you're not prepared, And that's why, like I was saying earlier, like when some people say, oh, take a chance on me, take a chance on me, take a chance on me. And it's like, we have to take a chance on you to, like, almost babysit you, and then put the clock up. Anyways, we'll wrap it up. Okay. So it's like, part of it is like, some people, they don't do the work. Some people, like, they need extra help. They need extra mentorship, which they might not be able to get from the boot camp. Although, like, you're supposed to be assigned to someone in most, like, someone should be assigned to you in most boot camps. But I also think that, like, you're not prepared adequately as well, because like you read the feedback I read on Talks to You. It's like, I thought I knew this. I thought I knew something, right? But then, like, once I actually got into, like, doing these challenges that you put together, it's like, oh, I'm not too sure about it. Like, I need some additional help, which it's like, a lot of even with my coaching, right? A lot of times, like, people say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to be the best here, I want to be the best there. Oh, I want this role, and I'm like, all right, well, here's the work that we're gonna have to do, and then shortly thereafter, either they disappear, or it's like, oh, they switch roles, they go jump on another thing in the boot camp where they're probably gonna end up in the same spot. So it's there's so many different factors about it. Like, a lot of it is your self-work, but like we were saying earlier, the things that you don't know, right? So how do you know you're supposed to learn about Jira? How do you know you should learn about Agile? Right? Like I've heard, we have stand-ups and stuff like that, but like they're not real stand-ups. It's like people are just and then like the internships that they give you, they're not real internships. Like to me, the best experience that you can get is going out there and building something. Right? Like you have to do something. You have to put yourself in the scenario, in the position of what it's going to be like on the job. And that's why I tell people like you should work your daily life in an agile environment, right? And we are going to be having, like, I just released a video in the Patreon about that, on how to, like, the tools that you need to start applying agile, as well as we're going to have a live stream about it in the Patreon about how to actually set it up, how to actually implement it. All right. So it's so many different factors that like they make you think that, oh, you take this boot camp and then like in 6 to 12 months you're going to be you're going to be making like 6 figures and stuff like that, and then like you start applying, and you start to get discouraged because you can't really find what you thought you were supposed to get, right? And I hate seeing it because I don't like to see people spend a bunch of money and then like they get stuck. It makes me feel a little bad, just a little, just un poquito, right? So I don't know. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. Let's see. So, and Sharon said, nope, they don't prepare you to work. Yeah, I don't think they prepare you to work. I think like Udemy courses, boot camps, they're very useful at giving you the knowledge you need to do the actual core of the job, right? But to actually work in an environment where you're working with other people, working with a team, I don't believe that they really prepare you for that. And Mitch said, to your point, I agree. Instead of job hopping, people are title hopping while trying to. Yeah, there's that too. I've seen people like, they go from QA, they go from QA to software engineer to sales development or sales engineering and stuff like that. And it's like, you need to like choose something and then develop those skills and find a real mentor who's in the field and stuff like that, and that's another one of the reasons that I like to hang out with Socks and with Don, because Don's been in QA for so long now, like probably 20 years now. Very, very smart guy, and always coming up with new ideas. And so I say, like, hey, go try out Chaos Camp to see what he has on his mind, right? Socks been in cybersecurity for so long, and like when I'm looking at the Discord, like he'll someone has a problem, and he's like, hey, let's do a screen share. Let me help you out with this. Let's see what's going on. Let's get it to work. And like that type of mentorship, like it's I've never been to a boot camp. I don't really know what goes on in the boot camps, but I don't think that you really get that experience, there have been, I've heard a saying before. I don't know how true it is, but I'm not going to say it. Never mind. Let's scratch that from the record. All right. So that's what I was thinking. All right. So let's wrap that one up. Another great question by Mitch. All right. So let's do. And yes, Jira stories, of course. All right. So where are we now? Let's see. All right. So let's get to the next one. Oh, but before we do that, if you are having a good time on the show, if you are enjoying yourself, do me a favor, go ahead and like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time we go live. And if you are looking for one-on-one coaching with me to help you level up your technical skills, go ahead and go to www.techcoachralph.dev and sign up for coaching and exclusive content that is limited to the Patreon members. All right. And Mitch says, you should be a mystery bootcamp student. I don't have the time or the money or the patience to do that, because I see, because here's the thing with me, right? When I hear nonsense, when I hear BS, I'm like, mm. And then I ask a question, and then it's like I know the answer. It is not going to be a good outcome. I'll tell you that right now. It will not be a good outcome if me going to like a mystery QA boot camp is going to be bad. Trust me, it's going to be bad. And I've heard a lot of horror stories already, so I don't think it's going to work out too well. So, anyways, let's get to our next question. All right. So
Another one.
So this one says, is it common to be laid off after automating tests for a legacy product? Am I automating myself out of a job? I'm automating end-to-end tests for a legacy product that will likely not have new features added to it in the future. I'm the only QA person working on this product. Is it likely that I could be laid off after I automate all the tests for practically all the existing features? It makes sense that I would need to maintain and run the test, but is that sufficient workload for an SDET or automation engineer? Am I automating myself out of a job? This is the only automation role I have had. I built it and organized all the end-to-end tests with Playwright, another Playwright. No wonder good guy is very present today, right? Practically on my own. The product I'm testing is rather complex, and I am one of the few people who have legacy knowledge. That makes me feel safe in my role, but at the same time, I have created a lot of documentation for others to learn. Oh, okay, they have an update. Just to add, my job is not a contract. I'm salaried and I've been at this place for 4 years. I'm looking forward to talking to my boss, asking him about my role. All right, so good question. Good question. All right, so let's start our clock. So here's the deal. It's not the work that you do that's going to get you out of a job. It's how you do the work, what kind of employee you are you easy to work with? And then there's always like, all right, that's like, you're not, layoffs happen when companies need to cut staff, right? So you could have not automated this legacy product and you could still get laid off, right? It just depends, but that's not going to be the reason that you get laid off because, you automate this legacy product. The question I have for you is, while automating this legacy product, why aren't you also looking to get into other things? One of my biggest problems, one of my pet peeves is that people always limit themselves to a particular, this is my job right here and that's what I'm going to stick to and I'm not going to do anything else, right? I'm always looking for opportunities to go outside of my job as well. So I can interact with more people. I can do more stuff. I can see what else is going on. I can add more value. I always tell you that your number one goal is to be able to add value to your stakeholders who are your customers, right? The clients of the company, your C-suites, your managers, your developers, your scrum master, your product owner, always looking to add value, always looking to offer insight. I have absolutely no problem writing stories. I have no problem running a stand-up or a planning or a retrospective or whatever the case may be, right? Remember one time my scrum master couldn't make it to a retro. It's like, hey, would it be okay with you if you do this retro for me? I'm like, of course, like not a problem at all. They're like, just because you work on this particular legacy product doesn't mean that your whole job has to be legacy, right? You need to find ways to plug in. You need to say, hey, what is this other team doing? Hey, can I sit in on this? Can I find out more? You don't have to be limited to just that little part that you're doing, right? So that's my advice to everyone. Whether you're a software engineer, whether you are a DevOps, whether you are in cybersecurity, right? Whatever it is, like you need to go and plug in. Like I was telling Mitch earlier, right? Make sure you go to the sprint reviews to see what is it that they're working on, right? So that you can be able to ask questions, you can be able to give feedback. You have to work together, right? I'm not saying like, you have to do everybody else's job, but knowing what they're doing, knowing where you can contribute, like your number one priority is always to get your job done first, right? But when you have like, now, once you're done with that, how else can you fit in? How else can you plug in? How else can you add value? Right? always looking to add value. You know, and you know, I think I see money in the chat. So let's go to the chat. Let's go with this, right? So all right. So Mitch says, on the other side of that, most people won't do it because they most likely will not get paid for extra. Not saying it's right or wrong. Hey, that's them, right? But when the time for layoffs come, guess what? What happens when you get laid off? What happens when you get laid off? You're also not getting paid for extra. See, me, I'm a technologist, right? Like, I love to explore. I mean, on Sundays, I spend about 2 to 3 hours working on Terraform. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, I'm writing code in Flutter. On Thursday nights, I'm doing automation and stuff like that. Right? It's people don't understand what getting paid means. Right? Like, I really don't think people understand what it means to get paid. And I think that's the biggest problem, right? I get paid in so many different ways. So along with the paycheck that I get from my company, the value that I get from being able to learn from the developers that I work with, the way that they think, the way that the way that they think, the way that they write code, right? It's like, wow, like this is very, very cool. And then I get to participate in that, and I get to contribute, to give ideas and stuff like that. You know, that like knowledge, experience, you know, all that is a form of payment. So when we go back to the first question, it's like, never do an unpaid internship. And it's like, okay, cool. But that person who does take that unpaid internship and the connections that they make. So let's say a person takes an unpaid internship, right? Or let's say they go outside of their wheelhouse to get some more exposure, some more experience, right? That intern, how many LinkedIn, like let's say it's a company of like 500 people, right? And they're able to add 100 of those people to their LinkedIn, right? And they get to interact and communicate with those people, right? So now they can get recommendations, they can possibly get hired full time, all of that. You are going outside your wheelhouse, so you're showing that you want to learn, you want to do this, you want to do that. So now they say, oh yeah, like why let's like, oh, hey Ralph, do you want to do this? Like we see you have interest in that. Oh yeah, sure. Like I volunteer to do Terraform sometimes at work, right? So a lot of times people think it's only like they're only thinking with cash. They're not investing in themselves, right? And you know, that's a short-sightedness, right? It's like people who, and I used to be like this when I was a lot younger, right? I'm like, 401k, why am I thinking about 40, 50 years, maybe not 50, but why am I thinking about 30 years down the road when I'm worried about right now? You know, a lot of people, they're worried about right now and they end up missing out. And it's just, you know, and that's why I'm always trying to, you know, get the mindset of the younger, because, you know, at our age, we're like, there's no hope for us, right? But I'm trying to get the younger people like, hey, you need to start working now. You need to start like learning how to code. You need to start learning how to use these tools, like learning how to how to be part of like a sprint and what Scrum is and all that type of stuff, so that by the time like you go to college and you're out of college, you are so far ahead of the other people. Because I'll tell you this, most of the people who I interview coming out of college, they don't really know anything about quality assurance, right? They like all pretty much all companies are hiring for QA. They'll say like they want a computer science degree and everything like that. But they don't teach you anything about QA in computer science. So imagine now you're graduating high school, or you're in high school, or you're in college, and although you're doing computer science, you also take a quality assurance course, and now you know how it works. You know how to do automation and everything like that. So now when you apply for an internship, you're the top dog, right? You get that, and now when you graduate, you have experience in QA, and you know how QA works because you took the initiative to do it, and you're like, now instead of hoping to get a QA specialist type role, you might be able to get a QA engineer 2 role because you built your own experience, right? So like Mitch said, right? The knowledge, the skills, the network that you build from just going above and beyond and getting paid in more than cash, getting paid in that experience, So just throwing that out there. Great point, right? All right. Thank you so much. Let's wrap this question up with a nice bow on top. All right, we are almost there. And this is a good question. Let's go to it.
Another one.
This says, getting into QA at the entry level. What do you look for in a new hire? I looked at the sticky for how to approach this, but I am not sure if I could be using parts of my existing experience or if mentioning them would just hurt my chances. I see many places saying that entry-level QA is in high demand. Where the hell do you see that? But I'm having trouble finding any positions that don't require 2 years of experience. Yeah, so you probably heard that from a boot camp. That's exactly where you heard it from. You heard from a boot camp that you probably paid $10,000 from, that entry-level manual testing was in high demand and you'd be making about $80,000 to $90,000. And now you are saying that that is not the case. All right. So I'm interested in getting into QA, ideally as a path into game development, but have taken a fairly bizarre career path for the role, and I'm wondering how to approach it. I've been a successful sales and marketing career, but am looking for a change after a series of bad experiences. After severe burnout following my most recent role, by the way, I love burnout. I was burned out over the weekend and it was exhilarating. All right. Anyways, I decided to take a professional certificate in game development and completed the certificate just before the gaming market crashed and burned. I am passionate about gaming and game design, but it's a tough industry to get into at the best of times, and I'm competing with others who have much better qualifications and experience that have just been laid off. That sucks. It's like when we mistime the market, right? All right. I've been told by a number of people in the gaming industry that I've spoken with that QA is often a good entry point. We shall see. My existing QA knowledge has to do with diagnosing and repairing issues in CRM systems like HubSpot and Salesforce, and fixing bugs in my own games. The role I'm looking for doesn't need to be in the gaming space, just any way of getting a start in the field. My major questions for people in the QA space are, if you were in my shoes, would you want to get into QA? How would you approach trying to get an entry-level position? Is there any transferables from sales and marketing to an entry-level QA role? All right. So that is going to be a very, very tough one, but let's get a step first. Bottoms up. Timer up. All right. So that's going to be, all right. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. So let's start with your questions. If I were in your shoes, would I want to be into QA? If I were in your shoes, I would not see QA as a bad option. I mean, if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't know what I know now, which would probably be a problem. But I think QA is always a great spot to get into, but the problem is that the way to get into QA is not as easy as they make it seem. You don't just go get a certificate or go get ISTQB certified or go take a boot camp and then think, okay, now I can just go apply to an endless amount of QA jobs and then expect to be ready to work, right? It just doesn't work that way, to be honest with you. What I normally, like what I would recommend, right? If you wanted to get into QA, the way I started, like the way I got into tech, right? I mean, other than like always been like trying stuff with tech as well. But like when actually starting to work was it's a tech support job, right? I was on the calls, having a like I was on the calls, answering calls. Like the calls came in, people needed help with their troubleshooting their web hosting, and that's what I did. And I did that for maybe 2 years before I got moved into web development, and then from web development, then I went into QA. So, and I'll tell you this, right? Being in web development before being in QA was probably one of the it helped me a lot in so being in tech support, that super duper helped me in tech in troubleshooting, right? And then being in web development, that helped me with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and being able to troubleshoot in that sense, right? So so that's the part about it that when you jump straight into like taking a boot camp, learning how to do QA, yeah, you know how to do QA, but there's a lot of stuff that you might not know how to do. And being that, like I was mentioning earlier, the saturation in the QA industry due to the boot camps, it's so much harder to get in there. So my advice would be maybe going like the help desk route, doing technical support, where, believe it or not, in technical support, there is so much QA involved, right? So much QA. And I'll give you an example. A lot of people that I've worked with, that they might start their career in support, and they're on the phones, they're talking to customers and stuff like that, helping them troubleshoot, learning how to use the tools that we have built in order to troubleshoot to help the customers with their issues. And then they have the opportunity to transition into QA because they know how the company works, they know how the systems work, they know how to troubleshoot, they know how to fix problems and everything like that. And then that gives them the like a better opportunity to be able to showcase what they know, right? Instead of like just jumping straight into QA, because it's not easy to get into QA unless you have experience, right? So when I started in QA, I was started as a web analyst or something like that, web tester, and like the money was low, right? But I needed a job, and then I flourished because I grew very quick within the company, and I flourished. But it just depends how you're trying to get in there. If you think you're gonna like the boot camps, they always say, oh, you just take 6 months. I never really understand how whether it's warranted or not, whether it works or not, right? Whether you actually learn how to do the job or not. But a job that asks for a 4-year degree, right? You say, okay, I don't have the 4-year degree, but I have a 6 months certification. Like at a time when companies were desperate, it would work, but it's not as easy as it used to be. And that's why I recommend like my approach, like, and if somebody wanted to follow my approach, you would put yourself in the best position to win, but it is not easy. It's a lot of work. But I normally say like, hey, you need to have a full attack, right? In going after what you want. So that might mean going to school, right? Going to a community college. I like to keep the prices cheap. Go to a community college, right? One of the guys that I'm coaching, 20 years old, right? He's actually in community college, right? And they reached out to me and said, hey, I need a tutor for Python and SQL. And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. And I said, you know what? Actually, go sign up for this Udemy course. And now him taking the Udemy course, it's actually making him being able to pass the community college courses a lot easier because he's getting a better, more comprehensive explanation, right? So all things work together, and that's why I always say it's not one or the other. It's not go to college or do a course or do a boot camp or something like that. You need to have them all work together because a lot of times you get out of college, you're not really prepared to work either, unless you had some internships where you get to be in an office environment. But you might need to go to college. You might need to do a boot camp. I would say if you went to college, I'd rather do some like Udemy courses or something like that. But and bridge that gap, you know. But you know, that's how I see it, right? And Mitch had a question. He said, "Would it be easier to try to be a business analyst than try to transition to QA?" Yeah, I've seen it go like in both ways, right? I've seen QA analyst or QA people become business analysts, and I've seen business analysts become QA, right? So they're very close. But if it's easier to be a business analyst or to get into business analyst, then by all means, I would go for it. If you know, but I just think, to me, honestly, getting your foot in the door would be the number one. Like that like finding a way in, right? However you can find a way in, that's the most important thing. Whether it's through tech support, whether it's through help desk, maybe it could be through customer service. Who knows, right? Just finding a way in. Right? Finding a way in, to me, that's the most important part. And then once you're in that company, like I said, start hanging around the people who are where you want to be, right? And say, hey, like volunteer, like, hey, and here's Mitch, you're gonna like this, right? Because why would I do this if I'm not getting paid for it, right? But if I was in this person's shoes, right, and I said I went into tech support and I want to do QA, I would spend my 40 hours on the phones or whatever, however long I'm on the phones, right? And then I'd reach out to the QA people. Hey, I'm interested in learning more about QA. Do you mind if I spend some time on my off hours? So maybe if I'm on tech support, right? Because I remember when I started doing tech support, my first shift was working 3 in the afternoon to midnight, right? So if I was if it was today, I was in that situation, I would say, okay, give me the 3 o'clock to midnight shift. So, and now I would talk to the QA team or whatever, to the software developers, whatever team it is, right? And I would say, hey, do you think I can come in like 3 hours earlier where I can get to like spend some time with you guys to see what you're working on and learn a little bit more, maybe contribute a little bit just so I can get some experience. And that way I'm building my own internship as well, because I got my end into the company and now I'm trying to hang out with the cool kids to get a little bit more experience, so that now writing some code or doing some testing and stuff like that. So now I might be spending 12 hours at the company because I'm still doing my job, but I'm saying, hey, can I get some extra experience in this stuff? Can I try it out? You know, so that's what I would do. Find a way in and then go hang with the cool kids, right? Go hang with the cool kids. Make sure I'm doing a stellar job, because I do not want what I'm trying to get to affect what they hired me to do. I have to make sure the work that I'm doing is absolutely amazing, but then I'm also going to spend some more time, however much time I need to spend to get to where I want to be. That's what I'm going to do, right? And am I getting paid for it? Yes, I am. I sure am, because I'm getting the necessary experience and the networking and showing the whoever there that I am serious about getting to where I want to be. All right. So that is my thought on that. Let's wrap that one up. And Mitch said, Tech Coach Ralph dislikes bootcamps. That is not lies. I think boot camps are absolutely amazing because they might eventually sponsor. They will never sponsor me. They will never. Like, all I have to do is watch one stream and be like, okay, yeah, this is not gonna happen, you know. And that's cool, you know, because it's cool. It is okay. All right. So, which says, I was just trying to help as well with the guy who asked the question. Oh yeah, of course. Like, no, I totally agree. Like, it's however you can get in, right? Like, I business analysts, they they have their role, and if it just depends on the demand, like find out what's in demand and try to go after that and get like I always know that tech support always cycles in and out. So you know, you might have to work two jobs sometimes. You know, you might have to at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure, Mitch, like if you grew up like I did using knives as screwdrivers and stuff like that, then we had to do we might have had multiple jobs, we had to do what we had to do to get to where we are today, you know. And we did, you know, and when we try to share with some people like, oh, I'm not working for free. Okay, fine. That's okay, cool. Go ahead and do you. All right. And says, yes, I agree, find a way in. And he said, which says, in that instance, you better look for the people in the department you're trying to get into. It will facts. That's what I was just saying, right? All right. Like great information. You see, look at that. Look at that. Look at Mitch with all that valuable insight. Okay. Let's get to our next one. So if you have not done so yet, do me a favor. Go ahead and like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live. And if you need additional help, go ahead and subscribe to the Patreon at www.techcoachralph.dev, where if you are a Patreon member at any level, any paid level, I will review and give you personalized feedback on your resume. That is available for all of my Patreon members. All right, cool. Yeah, I figured that. You know, I saw that. I was like, you know, I'm just gonna get as much as I can out today because I'm gonna get like just a space, a comment from for the next few weeks. I think I met my quota for the for the year. That's hilarious. All right, let's do this. All right, let's do this. This because we have two more questions and then we're gonna wrap it up for the night. All right, so let's go.
Another one.
So, how would you work a project? I have a few questions. What are the processes and workflows you guys have used to work on projects? Projects being something bigger than an individual ticket. What's worked? What's trash? If you could design a process to work projects as a QA, how would you do it? I like assigning a QA early on in the software development lifecycle so they know what's going on and what has been changed since the original documentation has been generated. Then having a QA run relevant regression tests as a safety net. Some product knowledge will be required there. Currently, the process is very ad hoc even after we are done and the devs and products still make changes, which is BS. I'm trying to develop an effective but efficient process for my team to work. So what are your thoughts? All right, cool. So let's start a timer. And I would say that the process for QA is very similar to what you laid out, right? But as always, I say get the like as QA engineers, we have to be in the. We have to get involved as early as possible, right? And that includes, so you're involved at the inception of not necessarily of the story, because especially if you're working in an agile and Scrum environment, which you can work in an agile environment for anything that you're doing. It doesn't have to be limited to tech, right? It can be for anything that you're doing. You can work in an agile environment where you're working in Scrum or Kanban. You have sprints, you have stories, you have points, all that good stuff, right? But as a Q engineer, your number one focus has to be on the acceptance criteria, right? Making sure that it's clear and it's understandable. You have a clear definition of done. And now, so that's from the very beginning, right? So that's the process that I would first lay out for my Q engineers. make sure that you're asking questions. You have a clear understanding of what is the expected outcome of the story. You have it clearly laid out. And so it's like when you have a story, it's okay, what should happen? What are our expected results for this story, right? And you're assessing the risk, you're asking questions, you're making recommendations as well. You're approaching it from a customer perspective. What is the best user experience could be? Getting feedback, like talking to the product owner, talking to the developers, talking to the scrum master. Your input is absolutely valuable because, and a lot of times people like they don't feel appreciated as QA because you don't say anything, right? You just want to sit there and you want to test, but you say, okay, how can we add value before we actually start testing? Right? So that would be like the first part of the process and the workflow. Right? Now, once that story is bought into the sprint for that project, because I know you mentioned like you're not talking about tickets, but many tickets make up a project, right? All the tickets make up a project. So what I'm expressing is how you would work all those tickets that make up that whole project. And it starts like, how do you work on a project? Well, one ticket at a time, right? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I don't know who eats elephants, but that's what the saying goes. So how do you work on a project? One ticket at a time, one task at a time. So when you say, okay, I'm going to work on this story and here's the acceptance criteria. As soon as you start working on the stories, now let's start building our test plan. Try to get to that test plan as early as possible before the developers even start implementing. And then you discuss that test plan with the developers, right? It says, all right, so based on the acceptance criteria, here is my test plan. Here are my test scenarios. Here are my test cases. And what do you think about that? Is there anything that I'm missing in here that you see that I haven't seen? And they're like, okay, yeah, there's this part as well. You might want to touch on this. We're going to be touching the code over here, so you might want to get that. So you update the test plan. But here's the benefit of writing the test plan as early as possible and discussing with the developers as close to them starting implementation as possible, right? The key is that they will. Did I start the clock? Oh, wait, I did. All right, cool. Almost a little gasket there. All right. So the key is that you also put in their mind what QA is going to be looking for, so that they that's going to help reduce finding bugs. I know a lot of people they love to find bugs, right? They love to find bugs, but I don't like finding bugs. Like when I find them, I'm happy I caught it because we prevented a defect going into production. But I would rather not allow the defect to even be introduced, right? So that's why we're having those discussions, and we're like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. So you give them some ideas of as they're coding. Oh yeah, QA is going to be looking for that. So let me make sure I focus on here, and they get it cleaned up, and now we don't have that problem at all, right? So that's the next part of the process, right? So you get the test plans written as early as possible. Now, whenever possible, start writing the blueprint or the frame, not the framework, but like the blueprint of like what is your automation test going to look like. So if you're doing like web testing, you should be able to start writing the test, like this is the flow that we're going to follow. And then once the selectors are available, then you start plugging in the selectors. The same thing can be done with API tests. You might have to go back and rework some things at some points, but you'll get a lot further than like waiting until all the development is done and then you start to like automate everything, right? So start trying to prepare the automated test for like once the development is done, you just go back in and then you just do the rest, right? So to that now, once the implementation is done, then you start to like you run your regression test, you do your manual test, and then you finish up your automated test and you make sure everything is good. If there's any problems, that's when you go through like sending back the defects and stuff like that and getting those fixed. And then now, hopefully your automated tests are already done so that you can just run regression. You don't have to do a bunch of manual testing over and over and over again, right? So that is how I would approach the process for like working on projects, because the projects are just many little individual tickets put together that are that are working towards a common goal, right? So that is my framework that I use when I'm working on projects. That's how I've been doing it for a very long time. And that's how we keep things running smoothly and how we have things that stay consistently automated, all right? So hopefully that helped. Hopefully that added value to your life, all right? So let's wrap that one up. All right, we have one more question. However, I might have a bonus one because there was one that I did want to read that kind of irritated me. But let's get to our last question, right? So, this last question, let's get it started.
Another one.
So this says, using production code to set up data for a test. A coworker and I were having a discussion about this, and we both ended up feeling strongly about our approaches, but neither of us could justify our feelings. So I'm looking for some best practice advice. Let's say, what shows a sound for going down memory lane? So let's say you are writing an automation integration test for some code that acts upon a complicated entity with many properties. For example, let's say you're testing code that deletes a user. In order to do this, you will obviously need at least one user in the system to begin with, and ideally one that is as complicated as possible. Assuming you can't rely on such user existing in the system beforehand, how should your code set up this user? Specifically, should your test call user creation function that already exists in the production code, or should it create the user itself using its own functions, or something else? What are the pros and cons of each method? All right, cool. Love this question, right? So I have had to stage data many times, right? And in doing tests. So let's start our clock on this one. And now, there's different ways of doing it, right? One thing I was wondering, like when they said production code, what exactly was meant by production code? Does that mean like you have an endpoint that's already existing that you can use to create a user? Or does that mean that like you're calling something in production to create code? I don't know, right? But regardless, the your dilemma about creating about the user creation function that already exists is it depends, right? How long does it take to call that function that creates a user? And how many users do you need to create? So when I was looking at this, someone had said, well, what if the user creation function has an issue at the time? Well, there's pros and cons to that, right? Because you can actually find that issue. It's more of a, it sounds like it's going to be more of a somewhat API end-to-end test, possibly. Or let's say, so here's what I've done in the past, right? Let's say I needed a user to use an application. I needed to log in as this user, right? But we always clear out the test data. So what I would do is I would make an API call to create that user, and then I would take that data and I would go and log in the UI as that user. The reason that I did that is because although I could inject it into the database, but then there's like so much more work that needs to be done in order to have the database connection. And then we go, after we have the database connection, then we go and we have to do the insert into the database and then all of that, right? Where the API is so much easier to use than to use the database connection. But but it's also a good point that what if that function isn't like, what if it's down? Well, I'd like to know that it's down so I can say, okay, well, there's no point of continuing this test because we have an underlying issue. So let's fix the underlying issue, and then we can go from there. So it depends on how much time it takes. Like let's say you don't have a way to do the API call. And the only way you can create it is by creating a new user on the UI, which that leads to definitely test flakiness, right? And I would never want to do that. So it just depends. I would say I would prefer to use an API call to stage the data. But let's say for some reason you can't, then okay, maybe we have to use a database, right? Let's say you're building out the application and you don't have the endpoint yet to create the user. So maybe you just want to go and insert into the database, whether you're using Mongo or SQL or whatever, right? That is an option. So a lot of times, like these scenarios, it all comes down to what context are we working in, right? I don't see, like, I remember there was an interview that I had and they said, okay, how'd you test it? I'm like, well, I'd make an API call. Like, well, why not go directly to the database? I'm like, well, that is certainly an option. I like the API call because it's very easy to reuse in that API call, but working in automation, like making an extra connection to the database that an API can do, it's just like a little bit more tedious, but it's not a problem to do, you know? So at the end of the day, it all comes down to, it depends, you know? So I don't know. I think both approaches are good. Arguing the two is it's really semantics. And here's something that I always recommend, right? I always recommend. Try it out. This is technology. We can always refactor, we can always change, we can always pivot, right? Try it out, see what you get, and go from there. Right? So that's my thoughts on it. Not much to it. I'd say always give it a try. I'm always willing. Like, and I mean, as you can see through all the live streams, how long do we spend on Terraform? How long do we spend on working on free mind recovery? You have to be innovative. You have to be creative. It's so much more than just asking a question and waiting for somebody to answer it for you. It's, let me go and try it out, right? If I were you, I would have tried both methods, and then I would say, I would say, let me try this method on this user, and let me try this method on this user. See which one works better. See which one is more efficient. This is agile. We have to be able to adjust. We have to be able to pivot. We have to able to see what works. You should never be afraid to try something, right? Well, unless it's a cybersecurity risk, then don't try it. But you should never be afraid to try something. Take safe. I mean, safe risks make sense, but anyways, like, try things out, right? Like, you can easily spin this up on your own. You can easily spin this up on your own, like, testing environment, right? And see, okay, if I do it this way, how will it work? If I do it that way, how will it work, right? So just wanted to share that. I think that is a good way to wrap it up for tonight. Next week, I will start off with the thing that annoyed me, and we'll go from there, right? So let's go ahead and wrap it up. It is late. It's time to go to sleep, right? So let me say thank you for all of you guys for being here. I really, really appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
If you have not done so already, go ahead and like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every time that we go live. And if you need more help, if you need one-on-one coaching, go ahead and sign up for the Patreon at www.techcoachralph.dev. And if you go to the Patreon now, you can see the first 2 minutes of the getting started in the Agile framework for no cost, right? So definitely go over there. You can even sign up for the Patreon for free, get a free membership, and see like the different topics that are in there. And I want to give a very, very, very special thanks to Mitch for rocking with me the entire show. And we might not hear from him for the next few weeks because he is probably going to be exhausted from all of this commenting in the chat. But just want to say, Mitch, we really, really appreciate your insight and your expertise. And I will always be very, very grateful for the support that I get from Sharon. You are absolutely amazing and continue to work hard and level up. And to Good Guy as well.
Good guy.
And for all of you guys who want some mangoes, feel free to stop by and get a full bag of mangoes as well. Mitch says it will definitely be less than 6 words for 3. All right, as long as I can get 5, I'll be cool, right? As long as I can get 5, like just a thumbs up and 5 words, and we'll be good. All right. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for you guys for tuning in. It was a pleasure. I have a question for you, as always, because I answer all your questions. I have a question for you. The question is, of course,
are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
I am always entertained when I get to hang out with you guys and answer your questions. But as you guys know, today's price is not tomorrow's price. So remember,
one more thing. Price of the brick going up.
The price of the brick is going up, and we are out.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts. Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again. Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.
Hear me, warriors of the North. Today we have tasted the sweet nectar of victory. Our foes are defeated, and their lands are now bowed before us. The gods themselves have favored our glorious deeds on this glorious day. We have shed blood, sweat, and tears to claim this land. Our relentless spirit, our unyielding determination, these are the very essence of our people. Let's believe our ancestors rejoice in the halls of Valhalla. For today, we have added to their eternal glory. Our victories will echo throughout the ages, and our names will be etched in the annals of history. But let us not forget the price we paid, the brothers and sisters we lost. They now feast in the hall of our forefathers, watching over us with pride. Their sacrifice has paved the way for this moment of triumph. As we celebrate this conquest, let us also remember that our journey is far from over. More land awaits our conquest, more battles call us forth. And the fire in our hearts burn ever brighter, for there is no limit to what we can achieve. To those who dare stand against us, let them tremble in fear, for they shall witness the fury of the northern storm, the wrath of the untamed barbarians. Today we celebrate our victory. Tomorrow, we set our sights on new horizons, a charted land where our banners will fly high. We are Vikings, we're barbarians, we are masters of conquest.